what's up? So I'm back with Lilith. Lilith in the second house is the material girl. Okay? Now, remember, it's not about you being a fella with this Lilith in the second house placement. I'm calling you a girl. It's just the simple fact that Lilith is the feminine. Okay? The demonized feminine. Even though, I have, contrary to the belief, I'm not going to say it right now because I really want to do something more with this aspect, that, intuitively, I realize as we come from an evolved state, and I don't really want to put certain things out there right now for other people to hop on for no apparent reason, But no, what I'm saying is Lilith here as a material girl. When Lilith comes here, Lilith finds it hard to understand its value. The value of the feminine. A person with this placement finds it hard, or there's like a battle when it comes to the value that they have to offer others or in the world. And the reason why is because it's something usually a little bit untraditional with Lilith in the second house individuals. It's something about their life, whether it was their life and they were growing up to the point of embarrassment sometimes. It could be because of financial reasons or what they had access to. Or it was too much, like they had enough, or they didn't. Because it just depends, because it could be Lilith and Capricorn that this is happening to. In the second house, it could be a lack or having access to said value, said material, said property, but at the same time coming as some type of sacrifice. Lilith being like a sacrificial lamb in this position, to where it's like, oh, well, people see you and they're like, oh, well, you have money and you have cars and you look at the lifestyle you live, but at the same time, it's something going on behind the scenes. Like they're not really that close to their family, or they're getting neglected because their parents have to work all the time. There's some type of abuse going on, something to where Lilith really wants to be free from these material restraints. Now, it's so much that I can say here and about every placement that I pretty much come across, every Lilith placement, especially when I get in the zone. But it all is here, but I'm only going to be able to say isolated things. Okay? But the point that I'm trying to make, Lilith feels in some form or fashion controlled or restricted by material, the material aspect, the physical world, like tradition, what their value, because I kind of want to go back to value. And like I said, this could spring from them being a young child who feel like they had to, like they didn't hold enough value in the eyes of their parents or teachers or anybody that they felt or deemed important to them. Even friends and people in their surroundings sometimes. They did not feel as valuable, or when they got older. Now, if it's a situation like when they came into adulthood, it could be them kind of breaking tradition, their family expecting them to uphold tradition, but they find it very hard to, or they try to, but the energy around them just won't let them. Something finally pushes them to their breaking point, to where they may be like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to live the life that I'm here to live. And it could show in ways to where they don't want to be trapped in by something material when they get older, like material stuff, property. Lilith here can get offered things because of her beauty, because of her body. And she can do this. I'm saying she, but just hear me out, okay? A person with displacement can be someone that works in a field to where showing the body or beauty in some type of way is how they get paid. Or maybe people wanting to date or marry or be involved with this person and feeling like they can treat the person any kind of way, like if they buy them things, you know, or this person become Lilith here, this person becomes like the other person's property, you know, something usually takes place to where this person wants to break free from those things, and everybody around them could be like, what, are you crazy? Why wouldn't you say yes to him? Or why wouldn't you, you know, want to be with her? She has a lot of stuff willed in her, is going to be willed to her, or her father is this big time lawyer or whatever. Lilith person could find it restricting, okay, because this is where the Lilith person may want to be free, restricting to give in to those circumstances. Now, I kind of want to, now it seems like I'm skipping around, but it's just so much that I have to say. I'm trying to touch everybody that may look at this. But the point here that I'm trying to make here with Lilith, or the person with displacement, is, you know, even if they, let's go back to them, you know, being people wanting to offer them material things like for their body, they could feel devalued, like maybe they're never really seen past their physicality, the physical aspect of themselves, and they're like, but I'm so much more. This can also play out in a man's chart too, to where if this is him wrestling with his Lilith, he could try to use the material gains that he's got or he has to gain power and dominance over women. And it could come from like when he didn't have, women didn't pay him any attention. So now he has, and it's like, oh, I know they don't really want me, but I'm gonna use them, and I'm gonna play them, and I'm going to exert my will and my dominance with materially what I can have, what I can offer them. Or it can be when he was younger, he had all these things. Like he wants to be so far removed from the attachment of material things, and you know, kind of want to be more free. Okay. Sometimes, possibly, even some individuals leaning more towards homelessness. Okay. Especially, or not, maybe following a career path or a job or something like that that is not traditionally accepted. If you have like a family full of doctors and they're telling you, hey, son, you know, me, your grandfather, your great-great-grandfather, your great-great-great-grandfather, we were all doctors. It'll be good, son, if you carry on the doctor name. But Lilith in the second house is kind of like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. You know, Lilith in the second house is freeing itself. And Lilith in the second house individuals could be very beautifully, like naturally beautiful. And in hindsight, yeah, you could see why people would want to invest in them, or people would want to give them things because of that. It's kind of like, you know, hey, arm candy, you know, let's switch off. Like, you're providing me with something, I'm providing you with something. But, and also there is, I understand why they would want to disassociate themselves from this as well, because Lilith in the second house could be breaking free, like wanting to be known or accepted for who they really are. And there continues to be a struggle until Lilith in the second house person recognizes the value within themselves, and that is enough. Because a lot of times these individuals, they'll even try to go along with the tradition, and they'll try to go along with, you know, they may even have a situation to where people, when they visit them, they have a whole little separate whatever, like they're living one way, but they're living completely different, you know. But Lilith here in the second house could do things to, you know, that ultimately put them in a position to where they accept less, because they feel they're not as valuable. Like, okay, well, I might not be as valuable as this person over here or the next person. That's why things come to them or whatever. But the thing about it is, and then they could definitely act out and start sabotaging things. Lilith and Scorpio could, in the second house, could definitely be a fighter. Like, even standing up for women's rights, or in some instances, let's start including men, a man's rights. Like, you know, a Lilith and Scorpio man in the second house, second house with this placement may say, listen, I think that, you know, men don't get treated fairly. Like, nobody ever speaks for men, and I want to be that spokesperson. And same for the woman. You know, it could be where they want to make like changes and they fight against the system or something. They want to make changes, but the thing about it is they're fighting. They give in a lot of times and they settle because it's easier than to try to go against society. I imagine these days being Lilith in the second house is a lot more easier than it was, you know, back in the 50s and 40s and 30s. A lot of those people had to just suffer because it was too hard for them just to break tradition. And you're not, some Lilith in the second house individual could just break tradition for tradition's sake to be, you know, unpredictable, or there's another word I'm looking for. There's a word that I'm looking for. I cannot think of this word. You know, a rebel, a little bit rebellious, especially when they were coming up. Well, that's what everybody thinks. And I feel like a person, the way that they present something or they respond or they react a lot of times is how they feel like they have to, according to what's going on in their surroundings, who's fighting against them, who's supporting them. It's like a lashing out. But here, Lilith in the second house is really trying to find its value. And it does. When it becomes, whether anybody accepts Lilith in the second house, the person, or not, which is in today's world, you will find your soul tribe, your group. Whether other people around them accept it or not, it gets to the point to where if they really want Lilith in their life, in the second house person in their life, they have to learn to respect Lilith. And Lilith in the second house person gains this respect by really, you don't have to act out. You just become that, like, in your life, what you value. That's where you'll find peace. And it's not that you gain value of yourself. You just become it. You just recognize that what you have to offer, who you are, is enough. This has been Lilith in the second house. I didn't talk about the synastry. I kind of covered it, but the video was so long, guys. I'm coming back around because I covered, you know, individuals that deal with you could possibly want to, it could be like some type of trade-off, like, okay, well, they could want to dominate you with their property or material gains. In some way you could feel owned by the person. But I'm going to come back because I don't want to put all that in one video, okay? All right. Until next time.